Hello again. Again, I apologize if there's any background noise in this, but hopefully my voice is loud enough and clear enough, and the tapping of the pen on the tablet as I do this, that it drowns any of that out for the most part. So, dealing with equations with variables on each side, this is the last video lesson in this section, and this is just us going through a word problem. Now, word problems, when you have variables on each side, are a little complicated because you have to try to figure out exactly what they're asking, and it's writing the problems that is the hard part. Solving them isn't quite as bad, but getting them written is tricky. So let's look at this, all right? So there's a lot going on here. So first thing I want to figure out is I want to figure out where my equal sign is going to go. So I'm going to look for that is. So think about it. 18 less than 3 times the number is 12 more than 4/3 of the number. All right, so this is my is. All right, so I'm going to write my equal sign there. So if I'm reading this correctly, that means that this business right here is going to go on one side of the equation, and then this 12 more than 4/3 of the number, all that's going to go on the other side. So let's deal with the left side of the equation first. Let's deal with orange, or 18 less than 3 times the number. Well, remember, whenever we see 18 less than, instead of thinking of that as 18 minus, just don't. It's minus 18. Because if I said 18 less than 30, you would do 30 minus 18. You wouldn't do 18 minus 30. You do 30 minus 18. So that negative 18, or minus 18, two ways of saying the same thing, is going to be on the right side of that expression. And it's less than 3 times a number. All right, so let's define our variable. Let's call our variable n, all right, for a number. And then 3 times just means you're multiplying it, so it's 3 times n, which we just write as 3n. So we've got one side going here. We've got 3n minus 18. Now, let's go over to our right side of the equation, go to red. And it is 12 more than, well, 12 more than is pretty easy to write. That's just 12 plus. Because it means whatever you have, you're adding 12 to it. And then 4/3 of the number. So 4/3 is the fraction 4/3, and then the number n. So now we've got our equation written up. And yeah, it's got a fraction in it, which, most of us don't really like or care about, but let's not freak out about it, and let's just see if we can kind of work through it. So let's put up our fence. Let's determine, first of all, what side do we want our variables to go on. So I've got 4/3 over here, and I've got 3 over here. Well, which is bigger? Well, 4/3 is a little bigger than 1, but it's definitely smaller than 3. All right, so we're going to subtract 4/3 from both sides. So I am going to go to using the orange, and I'm going to go minus 4/3 n. We're going to go minus 4/3 n. All right, so what we got to figure out, and let's figure that out down here, is how many thirds is 3? Well, 3 wholes, 1 whole is 3/3. So 2 wholes would be double that, so that would be 6/3. So 3 wholes is another way of saying 9/3. So what's 9/3 minus 4/3? Well, you just keep your denominator the same, and you go 9 minus 4, and you get 5/3. So you got 5/3 n, and now I'm gonna move that 18 over into a different color. So we're gonna say minus 18 is equal to 12, and this canceled out. Got a lot of color going on here, but hope it's not too confusing. So next thing we want to do is we want to move this over to the other side, because we've got the variables all on one side now. Let's get the numbers all on one side. So we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to add 18 to both sides. And that's pretty straightforward. 12 plus 18 is just 30. All right, and that's equal. And then we have 5/3 n. Okay, and we're just going down to one color now. So we have 5/3 n equals 30. Okay, so the last part, what we got to do is we want to solve for n, which means that we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of this fraction here. So the reciprocal of that is 3/5 multiplicative inverse. And if I do it to one side, we got to do it to the other side. So my 5's cancel, my 3's cancel, and I'm left with n. And then 30 times 3 is 90. And then 1 times 5 is 5. And if I do 90 divided by 5, it is going to be, is it 18? It's 18 times 5. Yeah, it's 18. So n equals 18. So I would go back and I would look at my original equation and I would say, okay, 3n minus 18 equals 12 plus 4/3 times 18. I'll plug it in. Okay, so we said our answer was 18, correct? Yep, we did. So 3 times 18 minus 18. Well, let's figure out what that is. Well, that's 54 minus 18 gives me 36. So that's this side, all right? And so now let's do it here. We have 12 plus 4/3 times 18. So let's figure out what 4/3 times 18 is. Well, 18 times 4 is going to give me 72 over 3. And if I divide 72 by 3, I'm going to get 24. So I get 12 plus 24, and that gives me 36 as well. So our answer works, okay? I'll leave it on this page, and then I'll just move it to the other page so you can get another look at it. Okay, so that's how these work. Yeah, they're a little messy, but like I try to say, if you chunk it out and break it into manageable pieces, it's very doable.